On July 4th of 2026, Mars will make its exact conjunction with Uranus in the sign of Gemini at 3 degrees. And this will square the nodal axis. So we can basically add the Mercury retrograde information with the Mars in entering Gemini information along with this. All of this energy is happening together. As it squares the nodal axis, we talked about that. So just a little more specific now. Usually when they make an exact conjunction, there is an event, usually when it goes exact. So let's wait and see. Sometimes our interpretations can be dramatic, and maybe it just represents the signature in a detail form. Um, for example, like flooding, or maybe a particular area is on the news for maybe a weather event, a water crisis. It could be something like that and not something so massive. Um, but let's see. I mean, Jupiter is now in Leo, so everything becomes grander. Um, Jupiter likes this fire sign. Um, it's opposing Pluto, so that will become exact soon as well. Um, all of these transits happening at once, it's going to seem very chaotic. And Jupiter, Pluto in particular can bring up survival strategies, survival philosophies. I mean, it all just reads as a very chaotic event um, that maybe calls for a humanitarian response. As this conjunction goes exact, the moon will be at 29 degrees Aquarius. And as it's still exact, it will move into Pisces. So it's changing the signs from speaking to providing emotional support in Pisces, thinking about humanitarian needs, uh, issues going on around the world, disadvantaged groups. Interesting. Could even be addictive tendencies with Pisces. And that Pluto and Jupiter with survival strategies. Um, do we learn that we have to save ourselves? Seems like we're uncomfortable with where things are, and this is a period of moving that energy. And we just had that Capricorn full moon. That person wanting to move forward, wanting to speak, wanting to discover, uncovering something. But as Mercury is retrograde, we review this information again. We're reassessing this information. Definitely saying things that we may regret and having to go back and apologize for them. Addictive tendencies can be addictive tendencies. Interesting because now that Neptune is in Aries, it feels like that Neptune and Capricorn generation now getting the square. Um, Addictive tendencies. It's hmm, maybe finding out that there is a problem or realizing that an old problem is coming back around again. Maybe it's not sufficiently healed. Maybe there was just a bandage placed over it, and now we really have to heal the wound. Um, Something else interesting that I see with this sextile to Neptune here, and with Mars ruling Aries, so it's very much responsible, um, involved in this Saturn Neptune conjunction here too. It's like they're always speaking from the places where they're sitting. They're always saying something. And even if they're not in an aspect together, perhaps that planet is ruling a house and is also just involved because it's the ruler of these particular events in this house. With the sextile to Neptune, something I notice is a lot of content with music underneath, layered with music. Um, can be nice, it can be nice, and it can be an innocent, just enjoying the sound. Sound is powerful. Sound makes us feel things. Um, what is it that you're trying to make me feel? What are your intentions? I'm always questioning the choices, and to layer it with the voice. It's confusing. It's Are you concealing something? Are you passing something along through the sound? Because sound can shift our emotions. If we can ever kind of isolate the voice from the sound and really close our eyes and feel what that sound is doing to our bodies, to our minds, to our mental atmosphere, and then add the voice again. What was your intention in doing that? Was it innocent, just adding adding just a little more to push the message along a little further, to carry it, but also to conceal, to hide. Vega, the fixed star, was conjunct Venus, was conjunct Mars as they made their synodic cycle. Orpheus, and that myth is associated with Vega, how he passed uh, spells through song, luring like a Lorelei, luring through song. Um, it's a great way, I think, to practice your discernment to see which ones are more innocent and which ones are more nefarious. Are they just insecure that perhaps their voice is not strong enough to to pass the message along? That you need sound. Is that an insecurity? Or is it something more manipulative? Seeing a lot of that lately. And with Neptune and Aries, with that signature of Vega, it seems like that will follow our Venus, follow our Mars planets for their entire cycle. Nearly 2 years for Mars and nearly that for Venus. Also, Venus's star point in 0 degrees of Scorpio on the 24th of October. This can show also subliminal messaging through that art, through that sound. So I'm just questioning, uh, what is that doing? There are, certain sounds can make you feel feelings you don't want to feel, more aggressive. Um, Listening to these songs on a loop, which sometimes I like to do. It's when you really find out what that song does to you. Um, so yeah, I've noticed that a lot, and I guess you can practice your discernment there and see which ones are more innocent, which ones um, are leading you somewhere. They're luring you, and Mars is covert in its Scorpio sign. It knows how to be covert. And in Gemini, it will be doing this through language. And Uranus provides more intelligence. So you can be doing this through intelligence, through intelligent conversation, speaking with the sound underneath. Um, there's some interesting asteroids conjunct Mars and Uranus at this 3 degrees of Gemini. Zerbinetta 693. It refers to an opera, Ariadne of Naxos. Um, Zerbinetta, she provides some advice to the princess who is wailing and upset about her lost love. And Zerbinetta, with the lovely wisdom, the advice, golden words of wisdom, uh, you get over one lover by finding another. Because attraction is a force that cannot be denied. It's interesting too, because on Neptune conjuncts Bella for beauty. Delilah, which is can refer to the biblical Delilah, who she was tasked with finding out the source of Samson's powers, his supernatural abilities. She tries to charm him. He tells her that the power lies in his uncut hair. And so one night, Delilah cuts his hair and his power is gone. Eventually the hair grows back and he gets his power back. But this Delilah can be a seductress, known for betrayal. Betrayal within relationships, maybe being vulnerable, making yourself vulnerable because of love, because of a desire, a lust for something, and maybe perhaps being deceived. Neptune. It's interesting as well because Mercury, which is stationed retrograde, which is the dispositor for this Mars-Uranus conjunction, is conjunct asteroids as well that also signal to intense devotion and sacrificial love, redeeming the self through love. Um, Also, asteroid Psyche, goddess of the soul, but she completed many trials to be returned to her lover. She was the goddess who she her lover came to her, but in darkness, and she couldn't. She was tasked, told that she couldn't look at his face. She would have him at night, but she couldn't look at his face. But of course, she's curious, and one night she peeks at his face and sees that he's the god of love. And but then he's so upset that, she broke the rules, the agreement, the contract. Um, that yeah, he disappears, but she completes many trials in order to get back to him. It's doing a lot for love, caring a lot for someone. It can also refer to, with the humanitarian crises, that signature. Sometimes in those crisis moments, this is when we activate and we see the strength, the power of humanity in times of crisis. Can also refer to discoveries, Mars, Uranus, the investigator, and the Uranus, which discovers the thread, higher wisdom, something that gathers everything together, um, a structure of higher wisdom. Can be discoveries, discovering hidden knowledge. It can even be discoveries in the ground. Mars is conjunct asteroid Atlantis. There are also asteroids calling to certain geologists, paleontologists. astronomers, mathematicians. Now's the time that we maybe unveil what they have been working on. Some of these discoveries, it takes years um, to bring credibility to these ideas, needing to study subjects for long periods of time to determine uh, what's really happening. I think it's time to go over some of those worst case scenarios and maybe developing a plan for how you would handle it. Um, for example, Mars Uranus power outages, perhaps, um, cutting out the electrical. So, power outages. Do you have a plan? Do you have batteries? Perhaps one of those solar power chargers. Um, I guess that effectiveness will depend on how much sun it's exposed to. But do you have supplies? Do you have food if your refrigerator is not working anymore? Do you have canned foods? How prepared can you be? Do you share it with your family? Give everyone a specific job. Even your children, you can bring your children into it if you have any. Give them, a small job so that they can feel like they're responsible. They can protect the family. Teach them how to handle crisis without becoming too emotional, because that's when our decisions start to suffer. Could be a teaching moment, and it could be a way to help with that Uranus anxiety. Um, the way that I help my anxiety is through planning. Um, we're never going to know completely what's going to happen. We can't prepare 100%, but what we have handled now makes room for that unexpected, for the unpredictable, what can come up that we don't expect. We can now prepare for it. We have space, we have room to work through these things because we've already worked out, some of the basics. Plus, we're getting comfortable mentally with an idea of sometimes things don't go smoothly. So, how do we handle it? Could be a good lesson to teach your children as well how to handle things with, to be composed, to contain self during crisis moments, to act only when necessary and effectively. Yeah, especially with all of the screen usage, studies coming out that screen usage can damage a child's brain. Infant exposure to screens can affect their working memory. So it maybe start teaching these lessons, focusing on activities, maybe even that don't involve the screens. This could be Mars Uranus, could be a big change in how we communicate in our personal lives. Um, Perhaps we can remove, consciously remove our screen time staring at them, because not only does it harm the child, but it harms the adults too. The adults are also addicted. So we can help each other set better example for each other by trying to avoid those screens and seeing what we can do. Will improve our communication. It will make it much deeper, much more intentional. Or it can be that we're saying shocking things, Uranus does surprise. It likes to surprise. And Mars can be pretty rude. Can be pretty rude. So we're going to see that for sure. I mean, it's like sometimes you really try here to find the positive, because I think personally, uh, everyone's life is different. Some of us are maybe close to that positive interpretation, and we just need a little nudge, and that it's okay, that it's within our possibilities, that we can chase it. Mars, we can chase it. Um, yeah, but of course, we have to be prepared for the disaster that could take place out in the outside world. There are a lot of alignments all hitting at the same time. And that's usually how it seems to operate here. It's like sometimes the one conjunction to your natal chart doesn't really do much, but if you have multiple alignments happening at the same time, that could be something, an event. And even tracking these things, seeing what takes place, tracking them, so that we can better adjust even these expectations. Sometimes it is a big event. Somewhere it could be big. But in our personal lives, it could be something towards that middle of the spectrum, something more mild. Also, the sun is conjunct the sun of the US's chart at 13 degrees Cancer. And the Mercury is also returning at 24. Mercury is retrograde now at 25 degrees. So it's all happening around this country's identity, how it speaks, how it does business. The sun will come into contact with Hades and Kronos, um, as it's squaring Saturn too. A challenge to the structure, illuminating what is hidden in that ruling class, that ruling structure. Also, asteroid Salacia, is just sitting there, sitting on Saturn. So yeah, all of these whistle blowing energy that makes sense. Thank you for joining me. Stay safe. Bye.